Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to No Skip Radio. I'm your host, Dog Like Nate, playing the only best albums front to back. And yeah, we're here with another episode, our second episode, switching it up a bit, going from our little moody folk stuff into a little moody R&B. That's right. We're talking about the Kehlani mixtape, You Should Be Here, kind of her first big breakthrough project. But before I talk a little bit too much about the record, as if we're going to do this whole time, I want to bring in my guest, someone that I am very excited to have this opportunity. She is a very good friend of mine, a fantastic producer and host named Drew Jones. She's someone I really admire, the success that she's been able to carve out for herself in her career. And also, I've had the pleasure myself of being on content and shows with her. We often have really good discussions. She's very opinionated, and I appreciate that. And yeah, I'm really grateful to get this opportunity to kind of know her better and stuff that she really cares about. So without further ado, here is Drew Jones.
Hello. Hi, Nate. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for coming. I'm really excited to have you a part of the show, especially as my second guest. Give me some nice variety, so I'm not just talking to white dudes.
I feel honored to be the diversity for your show.
One of many, hopefully. But yeah, I hope I did okay introducing you. Is there anything else that you would like to say to the people who may not be familiar with you?
Sure. First off, that was really nice. That was a really nice intro. So thanks. My name is Drew. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I love R&B like deeply. So this album is really special to me. And yeah, like you said, I'm a producer. I work in development, which is really fun, getting to create shows and whatnot. And I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Yes. So let's just dive into it. Like I said, we're talking about You Should Be Here, the Kehlani mixtape. We'll get into a little bit of history right here. So Kehlani Ashley Parrish is her full name, born April 1995 from Oakland, California, California local. And she kind of, I didn't find this out until I started doing my research, was that she got into her initial spotlight from this teen group she was in called Pop Life. It was like a pop cover band that she was the singer for, and they got some fandom in America's Got Talent, right? That was the show that she was on.
Yeah.
So after she kind of broke out from that, she released her first mixtape, which was Cloud 19 in 2014. Got her a little bit of recognition, some kind of put her on a lot of lists of like people to watch out for. And her second mixtape, which is the one we're going to be talking about today, is You Should Be Here, which again got her a lot of buzz, got a lot of top lists. Number 5 on the hip hop R&B chart, also got her nominated for a Grammy as well for a contemporary album. So yeah, obviously a very big step for her. She went on to do a really, really big debut album after this, of which I am more familiar. But yeah, this was her really, aside of the first mixtape, this was the one that really kind of took off. And also she positioned herself right in that time, when the whole Chance mixtape stuff was going on, of where like people were paying a little bit more attention to mixtapes and not just treating them as like kind of throwaway projects from rappers. Which is really cool. But she has a very, very diverse background. She's a mix of Black, white, Native American, Filipino, and Mexican. This is how she describes herself. She was adopted and raised by her aunt. Didn't have a relationship with her parents. And, kind of went the art student path, went to performing arts school, wanted to go to Juilliard, but unfortunately wasn't able to. But obviously still kind of found her way into the career by joining Pop Life and getting discovered through that. So she's, working on the Pop Life thing. They're on America's Got Talent. I think they got 3rd place or 4th place. And I think there's like a quote from Pierce Morgan, who, we hate, but whatever. He said, you got real talent, but I don't think you need the group. And you turn around and a year later, she's doing solo projects and kind of working on this first mixtape that we end up hearing. She relinks up with Nick Cannon, who was familiar with her because he was the host of America's Got Talent, and he actually ends up kind of funding her to get her first big track out there, gives her kind of a break. and that momentum she's able to kind of carry on to this mixtape here. So it's interesting how she has still at such a young age. She's only 19 at this time. Has had so much experience not only in life but also in the music industry, and you can definitely hear that on the record. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of producers all over this. The main two that kind of appear a lot are J Mike and Jehan Sweet. Um, and yeah, that's about it as far as what I have for like history and trivia. But Drew, I'm curious for you. Like, so when did you kind of first become familiar with Kehlani? How did you discover her?
I want to say I became familiar. It was definitely in college. I want to say like 2012. So right before I moved out to LA, I was really into SoundCloud, like finding musicians on SoundCloud, and I came across her song First Positions, which is a song about her basically turning a straight girl. Well, I guess not a straight girl, basically helping a girl realize her sexuality. And I was like, this is fire. Who is this? And then I just kind of went down the rabbit hole that is SoundCloud and Kehlani, and I've been in love ever since.
That's awesome. So you were into her before this mixtape came out then. You kind of had
Yeah, like right before, I feel like I got to be in the Tsunami, as the fandom, I guess, is called, right before she started to blow up.
Is that what the fandom is called? A tsunami?
Yeah, the Tsunami. I don't know if that's still what people, but like back in the day, she used to do this thing called Lonnie Tsunami Christmas, and she would do a Oakland show like around Christmas time. And I think like she donated proceeds somewhere, but it's like the craziest show ever. She gets so many people to pull up. Like even back then when she wasn't that big, she was able to get people to pull up for her. And yeah, I used to go to that, and she's dope. And yeah, they called themselves the Tsunami for a hot minute. I don't know if they still do.
That's awesome. So yeah, so it sounds like you got in probably like right before this during that initial kind of SoundCloud wave. So do you remember the rollout to this record or like the music videos, anything like that?
Yes. Okay. So she actually released a lot of music videos for this particular like mixtape. I'm trying to think what the first one was that I remember really seeing. I think it was The Way, because it's with Chance the Rapper, and I remember it being like in black and white, and it just radiated old school R&B music video. And that was like, I don't know if you've seen old pictures of Kehlani, but she used to be very she was super cute, but she was very like, she looked like a kid, like she looked 14. And like The Way is the first one that stuck out to me, where I was like, no, she's on her grown woman shit. Like she was like wearing like black sweatpants and the black sports bra with the tats, and I was like, I'm into all of this. I love all of this.
Yeah, I remember she only really became on my radar when this project came out because of The Way, because I'm a big Chance guy. And especially during 2015, I was, following every verse that he was putting out. And this is a fantastic verse from him, which of course just makes being a Chance fan even more frustrating. But yeah, I remember really, really liking this song. And what's funny is I pulled this up on Spotify, right, to listen to, and I'm so mad. On Spotify, the order is so fucked, dude. It's like not in the right order at all. So the first 3 times I listened to the record, it wasn't even in the right order. And I get to intro, and I'm like, why is this in the middle of the album? So eventually I found out later that it was not in order for some reason, and I made a playlist and reordered it so I could listen to it properly. But yeah, that song they have moved up to the top, obviously, because that was like the big one that carried the most. But it's a great song. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, for me, this entire mixtape, and I'm not like a huge like music freak. Like I know like I've listened to your stuff, and you can like really go into music and like go, oh, well, this note is from, this album. I'm not that person, but I do know when shit slaps. And I do know when something like deeply like penetrates my spirit. And this, for me, this was like song for song, a piece that I was like, I can resonate with every single thing on here. No skips. Like even now when I listen to it, there's 0 skips ever.
Yeah.
I'll start to go to it. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say, like, music is such a personal thing, and like with all art, it is subjective, and what some people connect to and other people don't connect to, like, doesn't necessarily make art good or bad, as much as that's just kind of like the way that it's consumed. But I think especially with music when you're young, like if it really connects with you at that time, if it like kind of speaks to that voice that you feel like is not being spoken to, it's really gonna stick with you for a long time. Um, and so that's what it sounds like, is that this record for you is like when you heard it, it was like, yes, this is all of the things that I'm feeling, I'm thinking. And so you've kind of connected that to your memories. And so now when you hear that, it kind of, I mean, I'm guessing it kind of like brings you back to those times and those feelings and stuff.
Yeah, it definitely brings you back, and then it definitely makes you think of like the growth you've had. Like this is one of those projects for me where I listened to it back then and it made me feel one way. And now being in a place, you know, because the whole album is like her come up basically. She's talking her shit. She's, you know, falling in love, falling out of love. She's trying to get her grind on with her music. And she's kind of like foreseeing her future and knowing she's coming up. And so listening to it, when it came out, I was still freshly new to LA. And so everything resonated because that's what I was doing. And now being in a place where I'm really comfortable in my career and I'm really popping, in my opinion, I don't know if everyone else's opinion, but in my opinion, I feel like I'm popping. I can listen to it and it's almost like I am able to instantly be appreciative of everything that I've accomplished, but at the same time, I'm reminiscing on like the days that were a lot harder. So it's like
Right. And
it
where
grows with
you came from
right,
kind of keeps you grounded.
right.
So like what kind of moods do you usually find yourself in where you're like, okay, I'm gonna listen to You Should Be Here?
Oh man, um, it's hard because she really takes you everywhere. Because like, I mean, you're in this industry as well, so you know sometimes people will try you, and so it's like you know, she has songs on there that like How That Tastes. There's nothing better than like you have a day at work where someone's just really trying you or like they're undermining you, especially as like a person of color or like a woman, which happens all the time. And you go and you are proven right. And like instantly in my head, like I'll start like humming it to myself and I'll just be like in the cockiest mood afterwards. Or if I'm dealing with a guy and I'm really, you know, sprung, or even if I'm really heartbroken, I'll listen to this album. If I feel like my haters are a little too loud, I listen to this album. If I'm just like, I just need to like scream, sing something in my car, I listen to this album. I
So
listen to this album for like everything.
it's like a centering for you
Yeah,
kind of a thing.
it kind of brings me back in.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's very cool. Um, do you associate this color? Do you associate this album with like any color?
I think the album itself is like pink, so that's like the color you kind of naturally go to, but for me, I feel like I get like sunset vibe. So yeah, pink falls into that, but like the oranges and the yellows, just that really warm, vibrant like color like spectrum pops
Hmm.
into my head. So like an LA sunset
I would
color
agree with
scheme.
that too. I would say that it's I usually say this, it's kind of like a spectrum as you move through the album, but like it definitely for me it starts in that kind of a brighty orangish yellow, kind of a sunsetty, and then it kind of almost as like how when you watch the sunset and like the sky kind of cools into the blue of like the normal sky.
Right,
As the album kind of goes on, it gets into that more blue, kind of a more relaxed, not like sad, but like calmness.
right.
And so I feel like that's also another reason why I was very glad that I figured out the correct track listing, because I feel like this album is sequenced very well. It has a flow to it. The songs are they don't she doesn't have too many of the same songs, similar songs right next to each other. There's some difference. And I also feel like the energy of growth, like you said, you can hear it too in terms of like the subject matter of the songs as it kind of matures as it grows on. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. Do you have like a specific? Actually, before we do that, let's just kind of get into the tracks and let's just kind of talk about the
Okay,
songs, right? So
okay.
so we have the intro, which is not really a song, but it's, you know, this message from her grandfather and also kind of almost like a spoken word piece from her. Um, I was actually really impressed by this. It, to me, to be honest, don't get mad. It sounds a little teenage pretentious. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of that naivete of like, I'm a teenager and I have everything figured out, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think that kind of gives you some creative freedom, and also it's like that purity of not being completely tainted by how like trash the world is, you know? So I hear that a lot in her like kind of her manifesto, so to speak. But I still think that it still takes a lot of maturity to kind of be at that position she's in and be like, I am I'm very lucky and fortunate to be where I'm at, and I want to share my message with other people. Like that really resonated with me. And of course I'm a sucker for the, you know, oh, she said the line of the, you know, she said the title thing at the end. Like that was I like that part.
Yeah, I definitely hear the like, you know, the I don't want to say immaturity, but the youth in it. And I think like when you're getting ready to start something, whether that's adulthood or a new job or whatever, you have this like kind of youthful optimism where you think like you know what you're going into. And I like that when she said you should be here, it wasn't just like because if you hear that it's an R&B album and you see the title you should be here, you're assuming instantly it's going to be like about like a romantic love.
Right.
And as like, you know, she kind of sets it up, you're going to realize that it's not just romantic. Like she's talking to a lot of people. And
It's a great play on words, because she's talking about, you know, the people that she's lost, they should be here. She's saying, you know, the people who doubted her, they should be here. She's saying you yourself who wants to be successful, you should be here, right? There's a lot of
yeah,
different ways that you can play with that statement, and she does a great job.
I agree. I think out of intros, it's like one of my favorite intros as far as like new age R&B. Maybe not old age, but like new age R&B. I think this is one of my favorite intros.
But when you listen, do you really start with this intro, or do you start with "You Should Be Here"?
It depends on the day. I really do listen to this intro more than I think people typically listen to intros.
Yeah.
But I don't listen to it like every single time I listen to this album, which is a lot.
For me, what's tough with like interludes and stuff like this is like I see both sides. Like I appreciate them being separated and not being like attached to a song, because then you can listen to the song on its own. And also I appreciate the narrative, again, that artistic overall aspect of like, I'm making an album, so this intro is part of it. But I also find that intros like this, where they're not in between music, they're right at the start, I will usually skip these. I'll usually just go straight to the record. Whereas like if it's like an interlude in between songs and I listen to the record all the way through a lot, like I will get like I that exists, it has to be in between. You know what I mean? Like when I listen to Blonde, like I don't skip Facebook story. Like even though it's not a banger, but like it's just it sits in between those songs for me. I can't skip it. So I was curious if you had that same feeling with this, even though it's not in between, but because it does kind of feed directly into the album. Do you think that's kind of why you do like to listen to it sometimes?
Yeah, and I think also because typically I'm not gonna say it loud so she doesn't hear it, but I'll tell my Alexa to start playing the album. And so she'll start it with that. And typically I just kind of like it puts me into the headspace I need to be. It's
Yeah.
like my countdown, if you will.
Yeah. So the next track is "You Should Be Here," the self-titled. Obviously, it's some song about a relationship, about somebody not really being present, even though they're there. I really like this song. I think it's a great title track. It's I really love the length. It's perfect. It's just verse, chorus, and like the thing that really grabs me right away, which I think is obviously intentional, is when that music drops out and the synth hits, so the bah, bah, bah. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, this song reminds me of just like even though it's a song about like a relationship about to, end, it kind of just gets me in a really good mood because I just think of like my friends. I think of, windows down, singing this at the top of your lungs. This song live is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is one of my favorite songs for her to perform live because the vocals. I mean, like, I think she's one of those artists where studio versions of songs don't do her voice justice because then you hear her live and you're like, damn, I wish this was picked up when it was recorded.
Yeah, I can tell. I mean, the song has a ton of energy, especially for being something that's not necessarily a positive,
Yeah.
story. It is very, very energetic. I could see that turning a large crowded room. I could see that like really going off at a show.
Yeah. And I think like everyone, I feel like that age range, like your late teens, early 20s, everyone's had that relationship that you swore up and down was going to last forever. And then you, or maybe the other person, in my personal situation, I was the one who peeped it first, where you start to realize that like you're maturing differently and your goals are starting not to match up. And it's like you're watching it like fall apart, but there's still, for some reason, it's like there's this comfort, so you don't want to let it go and you're just sitting in it. And I just felt like she really illustrated that in a way that didn't come off as like malicious, like she wasn't talking shit about this person, but she's just kind of, it's like sad. I don't know.
Yeah, it again, it does show a lot of. As much as I will rag on her continually about how some of the writing on this is young, it does show maturity that she's able to approach this topic in that way. Um, the just like you said, like when you have those feelings for someone, like you can know that a situation is bad for you, and it's still it's hard to remove yourself from that situation. And I think it also speaks to like when you have hope, you're hoping that this person will change, you're hoping that the thing can be fixed or whatever. But I get a lot from this song. Just a fantastic chorus, really really good. Great bridge, that breakdown. Good song, really good song. The next track is How That Taste. You've already said is a favorite of yours for getting a little uh sweetest revenge going on.
Yeah. I feel like, okay, I don't know how familiar you are with Cardi B, Nate, but
Moderately.
she has a song called Get Up 10. And to me, How That Tastes is in the category of a Get Up 10 or like T-Pain's karaoke or
Okay.
just like one of those where it's like, you know what? Let me talk to this nigga real quick and let them know, like, because I've been real nice about it, but now you're playing me, and so now I need to let you know really quick that I'm that girl. And yeah, I'm gonna boast a little bit for a second, and
Yeah.
I like songs like that.
I definitely think the first kind of first act of the album definitely expresses a lot of pride, in that youthful energy, and I think that definitely is kind of in a way like she's celebrating herself, but not in a way that comes across as like too cocky, as much as just like
Right.
you need to respect me because look at the facts. Um, I like that one. Uh, yeah, not crazy about it. It's good.
I think like something that I really like about Kehlani, and I feel like this is a good example of that, is she's someone who knows she's talented. She's someone who knows that, she's that girl, but the way that she brags is never um demeaning, and it's never like I'm better than you, and it's never like she's not a humble bragger, but she brags enough, like just enough. She's never going to tell you she's the greatest of all time, but she's also someone who's like, yeah, but but I am talented, so you need to put some respect on it real quick.
I agree 100%. The tone very much is she has a lot of self-respect for herself and
Mhm.
self-confidence, but it doesn't come across as arrogance. Um,
Yeah.
it is an interesting dichotomy in that she does really show off her talents, and she knows that what she can do, but she never claims to be like the best ever or like, anything like that. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I can see how that would be very endearing, especially as a young person, especially in this kind of R&B pop space. There's so much like manufactured, like not like fake stuff, and she
Yeah.
is just very real, and I think that's why she has developed the fan base that she has. I mean, obviously, especially if you've heard the new stuff, it's even more raw and like she's just
Yeah.
like laying it out there. But I think people really appreciate that, and here you can kind of see the roots to that. It's still a lot of these songs to me don't necessarily age well. They're not like terribly like, oh man, it's been 2 years, it sounds bad. But when I hear them, it brings me back to 2014, 2013, whatever, and that kind of pop sound and stuff was there. And I
Mhm.
can hear her kind of in the middle, straddling the line of like, I want to kind of be a little bit more against the rules, a little bit more like just myself, and still wanting to, make it and make popular music that will play in clubs and that will, be earwormy and stuff like that. So I think that's a really interesting dichotomy on this album. The next track is "Jealous," which I actually really enjoy. Speaking of uh, braggadocious songs. Little bit of arrogance here, but not quite so. Um, but I really like. I don't. This song just grabbed me right away. Like aside from like the premise that's really well executed, but great hook again. I'll say it 1,000 times every episode. I'm a sucker for a good chorus. This is one of the ones that immediately kind of stuck out to me.
Yeah, I have deep feelings and connections to this song. I always like it's funny because sometimes I'll put this song randomly on my Instagram story and that like my like closest friends will be like, all right, who's the guy? Who's trying right now? Because I think especially as like I think we're going, I hate this term so much, but I feel like we're going to the age of like the girl boss where it's like women are finally starting to get the accolades of like, yeah, we do, like we also we bring a lot to the table, and we're at that point where it's like we don't want to date people who aren't bringing anything to the table. Like we're not lowering our standards just for the sake of being with someone.
Right.
And this song just like, because she's really telling him like you're here with like you're my plus one.
Yeah, I brought
Don't get
you. Yeah.
comfortable. Yeah, like don't get it twisted. And I feel like especially in this industry, like man, the amount of times where it's like I don't want to humble you because I'm not that person, but I get that you're the man, but
You need to reassess the situation.
yeah, because who brought you here?
I think it's a really interesting dichotomy because if a guy was singing this song, it'd be completely different. Not necessarily in a good or bad way,
Yeah,
but the idea of like, the successful rapper whatever bringing a girl around and she's like taking pictures, he's like, "Yo, like whatever." The fact that it's flipped, right? I think not only is it just something that some people can relate to of someone trying to make them jealous, um, or using them and their resources in order to get ahead in some other way. But I think it's really interesting that she is a successful woman, like just like you said in the whole girl boss thing, which I also hate. But I am for all of the things that it's supposed to mean. I just don't like it because people never use it properly, and it's
right,
become like a joke basically. Um,
right,
but I think it's interesting to get this perspective from her as a very successful woman in her own right, bringing in these guys or whatever that are hanging around her, and it's like, yo, dude, what the f? I'm the one who's successful here and bringing your bum ass around, and you're like trying to make it seem like you got it so you can be with another woman. Like there's another layer to it in that she is the woman who is the one who's like buying things,
right.
um, and I think that again into that honesty vein, like this is like, again, I'm not the biggest Kehlani fan, so I'll have to defer to you if this is right, but when I think of like the main things that make Kehlani the artist, like that honesty, this is part of
Yeah,
that, because a lot of people would not necessarily talk about this in that same angle or with that same energy.
right. And I think like if you think about, female celebrities, whenever they date someone who isn't necessarily on the same platform as them, like it's always it somehow always becomes like, oh, they're the heartbroken one, or they're the one who got left, or whatever. And it's like J-Lo. People always want to bring up J-Lo's, like, J-Lo can't keep a man. J-Lo's Jennifer Lopez. Like, she's Jennifer Lopez.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, sure, maybe she might be part of the problem, but maybe, just maybe, she doesn't have, like, she's bringing people into rooms that they can't get into. Maybe she doesn't want to have to keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Not obviously not like the A-Rod situation, but I just think, like, for Kehlani to be like, to just flat out be like, yeah, you're not on my level and you should be happy to be here. This song has, I think, one of my favorite lyrics from this mixtape. Hold on, let me remember it. I want to say it correctly. She says, so low key, I just stay out the way. I built a lab up in the crib. I built a lab up in the crib so I don't leave all day. You always try to rush out when I need you to stay, but don't forget to post a pic when it's your bae. And I love that because she's basically like, all of this glitz and glam stuff is not really my scene. I really am just here for the art. I'm really just here to make my shit. And when I need you, when I'm going through this creative process, when I'm going through X, Y, all the downs of this, you're not here. But when it's cool and glitz and glam and like whatever, then like, here I am on your Instagram. Here I am, like the Woman Crush Wednesday. And it's like, well, where the hell were you when I was in the process of going through the emotions so I could create this art for you? So I vibe with that hard.
Yeah, I mean, and especially too, again, at that age, the things that are important to guys are stupid. Yeah. So the next song is "Niggas," of course, which follows a very similar vein. I do have to say, when I was listening to this the first time and it came on my AirPods, I think I was at the grocery store. I was like, "What? What happened?" And I went, "What is this song called?" And I pulled my phone up and I went, "Yep." I know.
You know what's funny about this song? She doesn't perform it anymore, and I feel like
I'm not surprised.
I think you'll kind of find this interesting too, because obviously she's, multiracial, and a lot of people were questioning her blackness. And she was like, rather than kind of fight back and be like, I'm black, like, whatever, she was just like, you know what? I just won't perform it anymore. I'm sorry if that hurt your feelings. I'm sorry if that offended you. That wasn't my intention. I am black, but if it makes you all uncomfortable, I won't perform it anymore. And I just thought that was, she's a bigger person than me, because I would have been like, fuck you. Just kidding.
I mean, I think it is interesting because she is so white presenting. She's obviously mixed, but when I look at Kehlani, she's not an artist in terms of what I understand of her brand. This is not the song that I would be like, yep, that's Kehlani. Even though I do think it's a great song. It's just, the N-word is very tough. If you're gonna do it, you got to do it like all the way. You can't like half-ass it. That just makes it worse. And yeah, I don't know. I admire her, like you said, I admire her growth and her decision to be able to be like, okay, if it's a problem, I won't do it anymore.
Yeah. I think it's also interesting because like, she's from Oakland. And I'm fairly familiar with the Bay Area. I go up there quite a bit. And I think like it's one of those things where race and ethnicity and everything is kind of, they treat it different. Because I'm from the South, and the whole like light skin versus dark skin versus brown skin thing, that wasn't a thing where I was from. Like if you were black, you were black. Like one drop rule is heavy down there. And so when I first heard the song, it didn't trigger anything in me because I was like, she's black. Like she looks like a bunch of black people. I know I'm not much darker than her. We all, are referred to as black from where I'm from. So I didn't really think anything of it. And then it really was like being in Los Angeles and like listening to people talk about it. And I was like, oh, this is new territory. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there is definitely like a cultural and like a community thing aspect to it. And I think probably what happened is she just in blowing up as she did, it kind of got outside of her control. You know, like in the
Yeah.
smaller community and probably where she's from, it probably is not a big deal because everybody knows her and also probably more comfortable. But then
Right.
once you have the whole world's attention, now you have a bunch of people who have different opinions, and because it is so polarizing, you know, especially calling the song niggas too, like you could have called it something else and then
Yeah.
just kept the lines. But I think honestly the biggest issue I have with it is that when you have a line like niggas always gonna be niggas, the connotation is that niggas is a bad thing, right? Which is like, trust me, all men are bad. I get that. In that sense, yes, guys are always gonna be guys. But it's just very delicate when you're talking about racial slurs because that word has been used to mean, you know, not just shitty men, but like shitty black person or whatever, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's probably where some of the delicateness comes from. But I mean, that's also part of growing as an artist, right? Is making art and
Right.
seeing how people respond. You know, I remember, again, I'm a big Chance fan, and there's a bunch of songs that he won't do anymore off acid rap. He just will not do them anymore. He's like,
Right.
he's like, you guys can chant for that all you want. I'm not doing Juice, like, like it's just not gonna happen. So yeah, I admire her growth in that, and I also think now that if she did a song similar to that, it would probably be a little bit more well received. I think just because of how people understand her more. I think at the
Yeah.
time it was like you either knew her and you're like, yeah, of course it's Kehlani, or like you were just fighting about this R&B girl, and then like there's this song and it's like, okay, what's going on?
I'm not gonna lie though, this song, it's definitely not my favorite. Like it doesn't even hit my top 10 favorites, like out of her whole, you know, discography. But it is one of the songs that like the girls will play at like pregame, you
Exactly.
know?
Like it's
Yeah.
not, you know, this song is not winning any awards, but
Right.
not every song has to win an award. This is
No,
just like you said, this is on the pregame, we're about to go out, you turn up list, and when it comes on, you have a good time.
exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Wanted is the next track. Um I like this song. It's a little generic R&B for me, I would say. Um but I don't know. What do you think?
I think it gives me what R&B like. The reason I like Kehlani is because she does a great job of giving you what R&B can be and what R&B was. And I like that she kind of will bounce back and forth. And this one, yeah, it was like technically generically R&B, but I like that. I don't think there's not a lot of R&B artists, at least mainstream right now, that I feel like give a good female, at least, that give like, some real nods to like what R&B was. And then this one it's definitely like not the most like amazing lyrics. But no, it's a feel good. It's a feel good one. Like I feel like it does what R&B needs to do, and that's make you feel something, and the song makes you feel something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I mean, I know generic sounds bad, but I just mean that in the sense of like, if I heard this song on its own, I would just be like, okay, it's just another good R&B song. Like, it's good, and she sounds great. I do like it within the, like I said, within the context of the record, how it kind of spaces out some of the more energetic, you know, uh, aggressive songs into this more kind of slower traditional R&B songs. And I really like how she's able to show her range in going
Mhm.
from this kind of like rap singing to straight up like belting, which is crazy. Um but yeah, it's just for me personally when I think of when I'm looking at like my favorite lists of like songs that like stand out to me, this one
Yeah,
doesn't make that list. But
yeah,
also as I've said before, this is I feel like one of those songs that is more of a grower, is something I would have to listen to the album a little bit more to kind of like get into, and then this
I
would probably be higher up on my list. It's just not an immediate like grab you kind of a thing.
I agree. I don't think I'm trying to think of when I first listened to this. I don't think it was like my first like it wasn't the one that I immediately went to and was like, I'm obsessed with this. I feel like every year my favorite song from this album changes, but this was definitely one that when I first listened to it, I was like, this is cute. And then like as time went on, I was like, okay, I like this more. And it creeped up.
Yeah. Next is The Way, of course. Huge smash single with a great video, great Chance verse. Back when he was trying. And yeah, just a really good song. This is like a radio like formula, like perfect. It's so good. And it also really shows off her range, as well as I think kind of her I don't know, style, I guess would be the word.
Are you are you up in the clubs, Nate?
I mean,
Do
not
you
now, but
not
I
now, but like what?
I have been known to be seen in a club from time to time. You know, I'm
Okay.
not a clubbing fellow per se, but I have been spotted in a few clubs that I spent way too much money or waited too long in line to get into.
Okay. This song for me reminds me like do you remember like when Controlla by Drake came out and
Yes.
like the vibes that gave and like that was like the boot up song. Like you were gonna slow wine on someone in the club.
Right.
The Way would come on in the club and that's where you would lock eyes with someone. You're
Right.
like, I know who I'm leaving with tonight.
That's when you start searching.
Yeah, I'm like, he's right here. So let you like this is a song that you sing right in your man or your woman's face, and this is like, 3 hennies in. Like this is a vibe. This song sets a vibe.
Right.
People have children now. People have like 4-year-olds now.
Yes. This is a baby making music song for sure. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's a great performance. God, what a good fucking Chance verse.
It's I'm not like I like Chance. I wouldn't say I'm like the biggest Chance fan in the world just because there's whatever. But this is like I would say probably one of my favorite Chance verses. It's so good.
Yeah, and it fits the mood and the subject matter fine. Like that's something that does get frustrating a lot, especially when you get these kind of newer artists that do mixtapes and they have like larger artists come feature. The rapper comes on and starts rapping about something completely different. It's like, bro, what are you doing? He really understood the direction the song was going in, and he leaned into that. So it really pays off.
And then he showed up in the music video, and they did that little choreography, and it was spicy, and I liked it.
Spicy is a word to use for sure. It was something.
It was a good. I was like, okay, Chance, because the nothing wrong with Jesus Chance, but I kind of miss like Chance from this era when he did this and he did Confident with Justin Bieber. Like I miss this little era of Chance.
Before he, I love my wife. I love my wife.
Yeah. Ah! I was like, monogamy is making you trash, my guy. Respectfully.
It's a real sidebar, but you know what's crazy is he put out a freestyle the other day that was so good, and I'm like, why can you do this and then put out this garbage? But anyways, the next track is Unconditional. This is one of the ones that I didn't really like it at first, but as I kind of like got into it more. My sister says Jesus Chance less than respectfully. Exactly. Respectfully, that shit's whack. But yeah, Unconditional. This is one of the ones that again sounds kind of generic R&B on the surface to me, but once I started like actually, this is one of the ones that when I was reading, I do a listen where I read through all the lyrics as I listen, and reading this one actually really kind of connected with me. I think it's the premise of like wanting an unconditional love is something I think most people can relate to, especially as we are flawed human beings, right? And as you enter relationships with people and you realize, oh shit, like I fucked that up, I'm not perfect or whatever, you're getting these scenarios where you're like, damn, I wish someone would just love me no matter what, right? So her expressing this, especially from so young, I don't know. It's just like it's a way that it's very vulnerable and open, but also still it's not like super like deep. She's like, sometimes I come home and my hair is all messy and like I want you to still love me during that. Like it's simple, but in the way that she delivers it, it's like, yeah, I feel this totally. And again, in the flow of the way the album goes, like as she's becoming, I don't know, more calm, more mature, I guess. Like this, her being able to voice like what she wants, I think is very powerful.
Yeah, this one is definitely a grower, not a shower. Um, it's one of those that like I feel like it kind of sticks in your head after you're listening to it because there's just so many little like catchy parts that you're catching yourself hum. But I do really like the concept and everything, and I think especially because like considering her age and everything, we're in that era where you don't like something, you just peace out. Like our generation and like Gen Z, like we don't work shit out. We just leave. If we see something we don't like, we leave. And so the idea of loving someone unconditional is not really a thing I think any of us like. We want someone to love us unconditionally, but to love someone else unconditionally, I don't think like we really go into it thinking it like that. So I don't know, I liked everything that she said. But I do, now that you say like her lyrics are like younger, like when you said it earlier, I like am sitting here thinking of them. I'm like, yeah, that's a little useful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't I hate it. I hate bringing it up because people like say it's a bad thing. Like this is my criticism of. Well, I guess if I'm using criticism, then it sounds like it's a bad thing. But this is my note on Billie Eilish as well. Is I think that she has a fantastic voice and she's incredibly creative, but I do think her lyrics are very youthful because she's young, and I don't think that's a bad thing. You know, especially if you're a young person listening, it might be easier for you to connect to that than some like deep Shakespearean theme or whatever. Every music has its place.
Yeah.
And
I
I
don't think I'm a fan of like deep, like I like deep shit, but I feel like sometimes I just want it in black and white. I don't need a full spectrum
right.
of like, metaphors and everything. Sometimes I just want to be like, yep, that's it. That like that's my mood right there. Take it or leave it. Like I don't want like sometimes I don't feel like listening to music where I have to sit there and really like take in the lyrics. Sometimes I just want it to be a slap in the face and that's
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
She does
And
that.
I also really like being able to watch lyricists grow as well too, and being able to compare their older work to their newer work. Arctic Monkeys is one of my favorite examples. If you've listened to their old stuff, very youthful, very angsty. And now, if you look at the last record they put out, Alex Turner is writing about a hotel on the moon and deep, complex analogies about how the stars are like celebrities and they're not really shining that bright. Remember, they're far away, so they takes forever for the light to get to us and all these deep metaphors and stuff. And I appreciate both, like you said, but there's a time when I want to just put it on and just be like, yes, this is what I'm feeling. It's a time when I want to sit in the bathtub and be like, what is this song about? Like
Yeah.
there's a time for both. Um,
And when you listen to her at like and while we wait and then it was good until it wasn't, like you I feel like she's one of those people who's like really grown up. And I think it's fun to listen to these like all the way through, like each one back to back because like like you said, like you do see the growth and
Especially when you have an artist that's so honest as she is and open
yeah,
about who she is. And also, especially in a genre like this, where you have a lot of very manufactured performers that are just kind of, not to take away from their talent of their voice or whatever, but the
right.
heart behind the art isn't necessarily there. They're just kind of going through the motions. And you can tell with her that that's not the case. She really is a bleeding heart musician. She would, create or die, basically. And that comes through with the music.
Right.
The next song is The Letter. A very, very emotional song.
Man. This one's like hard to listen to.
Yeah.
I think for me, without like getting emotional. And I think anybody who, because she, like you said, didn't grow up with their parents because they had addiction issues, or they had a disease. Basically, they had addiction problems. And anyone who's loved someone or looks up to someone with addiction can tell you like there is a point where you're like, is this my like, did I do this? Like, was this stress of me being around? Like, did I push you here? Did I like you kind of walk on eggshells? And so I don't think there's ever been a song for me where it was just a little too specific. Where it's like this hits the nail a little too hard on the head. But I think it's like, I don't know, it's a really beautiful song that I think anyone who has loved an addict or has one in their life can like definitely relate to exactly everything she's saying and the stages of grief and everything that she goes through in the song.
Yeah, it's a very tough song, especially when you're dealing with that kind of loss and trauma, and you have those thoughts of like, is this my fault? Is this something I did? Like, and yeah, it must have taken an extraordinary amount of effort for her to be able to, express these feelings onto the page and then, get out there and perform it, because this is an extremely personal song. Um, yeah, but again, like we keep saying, that is the draw to her, obviously, right? Like, not a lot of artists would this openly, especially on their first major mixtape, kind of dive into something this serious.
And especially a subject that I feel like historically in like rap and R&B is used kind of as a weapon against another artist, like whenever there's like a rap beef or whatever, it's like families get brought up. If your mom's a drug addict, that's going to get brought up. Like all these. So for her to just kind of lay everything out on the table so early in her career, to me, was just like a really brave move. And like, I think the reason why so many people resonated with her.
Absolutely. Yeah. She came right on that tip of celebrities and musicians being more honest with their audience about who they are, instead of kind of portraying this image of being this perfect altogether person. And I think she was not only able to, utilize that, but capitalize on it, because it ties into so much her brand of who she is. So the next track is Runnin', the interlude. I love this. I'm a big fan of people that play with song structure. I mean, you can hardly call it a song traditionally, but just the way that she just is just going, like, it just feels natural. This was an instant like for me.
Yeah, this is one of my. I know it's like not like you said, it's not like really a full song, but it's one of those that you get really hyped listening to. And even like in concert, when the times I've seen her in concert, she doesn't even bother to really play the music. She just does this like a cappella, because the audience
Knows
gets
every
so
word.
wild with it that it's just like it's such a vibe. And it's one of those songs like that's really empowering, I feel, for women. Like she says a lot of shit in there that you're like, yeah, I
Yeah,
feel this
because I
strongly.
know every man has a fear of a strong-minded woman, but I say she's a keeper if she got it on her own and she keeps it running. Yeah, I
Yup.
mean, no arguments there. Yeah.
And
Be all. Go ahead.
I think she does a really good job of I think it's really easy to get labeled as a I feel like sometimes people try to turn the word feminist into a bad word.
Absolutely.
And in reality, she's never said anything that anyone, a male in any musical genre, hasn't already said. She's just saying it as a woman. And I think like she's done such a great job of, you know, talking her shit, talking about women empowerment and everything, but still has somehow managed to keep herself out of that like label of man hater, because I feel like that gets thrown so easily
Yeah.
uh, with artists and stuff. Like, I mean, even like, just the stuff with Megan and Cardi and like their songs, and how like it's like, oh, you're a man hater and you're trying to turn women against men and blah blah. Like Kehlani says a lot of shit that's very like, I don't need a man. I'm a strong woman. You're intimidated by this, and people don't throw that at her. And I think it's because of like, I don't really know what it's. I mean, there's some ideas.
I think it's the authenticity. I think it's a
Yeah.
lot harder to attack her from that when she's been so consistent and sticks behind her words for so long. Not that I think Megan and Cardi aren't authentic, but when you have such larger, more manufactured brands like that, that authenticity doesn't really come through as much. And so I think it's easier to be like, oh, you're just being performative. You're just trying to like turn women against men or whatever. I think with someone like Kehlani, like she would like, you get the clap back with her. Like it's like, she really is about it and has been singing about it. And yeah, it feels like grounded.
And I feel like you can tell as you listen through one of her like projects that she's learning as the project goes on. So it's like she will kind of acknowledge a lesson that she's learned, that she's talked about in a previous song, and you can feel like as each song goes on, you know, she's like growing. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that this song kind of goes on that.
Next song is "Be Alright." This is one that I instantly liked. One of my favorites on the record. Another fantastic chorus. I really like the pre-chorus as well, and yeah, just a great message. You know, I love these kinds of songs that are not too cheesy. You know, because you know, as someone who struggles with depression and also just motivation, as a lot of people do, it's sometimes you have to remind yourself like shit sucks right now, but everything's gonna be okay. You know, as Key says, it gets better, right? So like, I especially once I read the lyrics and got deeper into the song and had done some more research into her and about how she was homeless for a while. Yeah, just a very, very touching, again, like honest, we could say this on every song, but honest, you know, and in the second verse he talks about I always have those days where I feel unworthy, when I sit back and ask God why he chose me, because I'm just human just like you are. We all see the same old skies and not see the same stars. Stuff like that to me, especially as a creative person who feels like I haven't reached my full potential, right? It speaks to me in that she, you know, she's saying that I'm very fortunate to be in the position that I'm in, but I'm still just like everybody else. I'm still just a person just like you. We see the same stars at night. And yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I find that very comforting. I find it uh, very reassuring. I like this song a lot.
This is my, as of right now, like, you know, I said it changes, but this currently is my favorite song on this mixtape. I wish, I mean, we have the same friend, Nakia Monet, who's also a dope producer and host, but we used to live together. And if she could get $1 for every time the song was blaring out of my room after a bad day, she wouldn't need to live with me anymore. Because it was just one of those songs that like this is one that you cry scream in the car while you're listening to,
Oh
and you're
yeah,
just lyrics really loud, and you're like, shit sucks, but this is what I asked. I asked to be in this position, so I'm thankful, but I'm still upset, and that's okay because tomorrow's a new day. Like, it's very much one of those like a centering song, but also like we're just purging our emotions.
yeah. I really love the ocean metaphor of the babe. When the tide gets high, you just get low. Hold your breath and take it slow. Yes, I might get wet, I might get thrown, but I'll resurface all on my own. I, just so good. It's just like I know exactly what you're talking about, and yes.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely like it's not. I think sometimes artists will describe a feeling, and you're like, I know what they're talking about, but like when she says that, like I feel what she's talking about. Like I can physically almost feel like the emotions going on, and I'm like, okay, we're gooch, we're
Yeah, I mean
okay.
that's what you want to do with art, right? Is touch people. Um, Next song is "Down for You." Another one I instantly liked. This one's kind of a cheat code though, because I'm a huge BJ the Chicago Kid fan, and this is just a BJ Chicago Kid song with Kehlani on it. Not. I'm sure she did, you know, a lot of writing and stuff, but like from the instrumentation to him, of course, and the melody, it just has BJ written all over it, which is great because I love him. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, a great song. This is like almost like an R&B standard, like a new kind of R&B standard. I would even say like.
yeah. This is the song I feel like my kids will hear one day on a Sunday morning, and they're gonna be like, God damn it, we have to clean the house. Like that's good. I feel like this is one of those songs on that playlist for me. It's one of those songs, and it's a song I wish got the same love that The Way did,
Yeah.
because it's so good and it's such a like boot up song. Um, yeah, I mean, like it put me. I wasn't super familiar with BJ the Chicago Kid before this song, and after it, I was like, okay, I vibe with this. Let me check that out.
Yeah, highly recommend BJ. He's a very very talented writer and singer. It's crazy to me how he has not had his own kind of like singular success yet. He's put a couple albums out, but he's done every feature that he's done with a major artist is like phenomenal. Definitely recommend checking him out. The next song is Yet. Um, this one I didn't like it at first, to be honest.
Really?
I don't know. It just was like, it just seems kind of like out of place almost, especially after the BJ song.
Mhm.
But as I listened to it more, it kind of grew on me. It's pretty catchy.
It
Um,
is.
and yeah, I don't love it, but like I would never like rush to turn it off if it was on, And
Right.
my head's bobbing for sure.
Right. It's not one of my favorites, but I feel like it goes back to her just being honest and like, just having kind of a grounded sense of who she is and like not really tearing people down because I like that she's like, you don't have a reason not to like me. I've literally not like I really just be minding my own business. But since you clearly have so much faith that I'm gonna piss you off even more, like cool, like let's talk about it. And I just think yeah, it's not my favorite, but it is kind of one of those where it is really catchy. If it catches you in the right mood, the lyrics are going to come out of your mouth a little bit harder.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely one of those like, you talking to me kind of a thing, right?
Yeah,
Like why I haven't even started it on you yet. Like, boy, like, it's one of
right. Like
those
it's really one of those where you're like,
like yeah.
I'm about to light your ass up.
It's like when
So
they're like stop yelling and it's like, "Oh, I haven't even started yelling yet." It's like one of
yeah,
those kind of songs.
yeah. This song. An ex of mine used to say he knew that I was about to cuss someone out because I'd start laughing before I cuss someone out, and yet I feel like it's Kehlani's laugh.
You were channeling her in spirit. You're like,
Yeah, like it was.
"Boy."
It was just one of the like. I feel like this song is Kehlani just being like,
That's the
I'm
warning.
yeah, I'm warning you. Love you truly. Don't keep pushing it because this is not even remote. If you think this is going to make you mad,
That's
just
her
wait.
that's her Drake sigh.
Yeah, exactly.
Next track is Bright.
Hmm.
Um, nice little happy light song. I don't really have too much to say about it. Like, it's a good song. Um, I don't
It's
know.
one of those songs that resonated with me a lot when I first listened to it, but now being like no longer being a baby adult and listening to it, as a 29-year-old, like semi developed woman, it doesn't resonate as much, but it's still enjoyable. Like because she says like, can't nobody love somebody who does not love themselves. And I used to think that, like I used to really think that that was like something that stood true. But then like as an adult, I'm like, no, that's because we're constantly working on loving ourselves and no one just completely loves anyone who's like, I'm obsessed with myself. Maybe today you are, but like not consistently. And I think like being older, you realize that there's room for grace. And when you're younger, you just think everything is so black and white. And this song kind of, to me, reminds me of like when I listen to it now, it just reminds me of like the growth that I've made as a person. And so it's like enjoyable as like, okay, I'm a different person now, but like there's still some little seeds for me that still reign true.
Yeah, absolutely. The song has a lot of nostalgia in it to me, especially because she's kind of writing about two younger characters. And it's interesting to see her. We haven't really had her approach kind of a storytelling angle like this before, so it's nice to see
Yeah.
her kind of take on it. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate the kind of bluesy stylings of the song and her switching into a little bit of a different direction. Um, I think it is a good placement right after Yet too. It kind of like again kind of
Yeah.
shifts that mood a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
And
agree with you. There's a lot of black and white kind of like when you're young, you think you know everything and this is what it is,
right.
and that kind of comes through of like it makes sense like to you want it's good to know what you want to a degree. Um, but just like you said with age, you realize that if you're always looking for that perfect person that loves themselves and has their shit together, like you will be alone because everyone has stuff that they're dealing with. No one is, always all put together.
Right. And I mean, the song gave, you know, girls the caption, the golden hour caption for like an entire summer. A woman like the sun must always stay bright, because the amount of people who made that their caption, I think I did too, to be quite honest, was like astronomical. Like everyone
I
captioned
mean,
their gold.
it's a very good quotable. Give her
It
that
is.
for sure. All right, so we are on the last track on the record, "Alive."
Loves it.
This song, it almost feels like it's like from a different project, and like it sounds to me almost like she did the record and then was working on this song and was like, oh yeah, put "Alive" on there too.
Mhm.
It sounds more mature, a little more energized. Also the production to me sounds a little bit more, I don't want to say advanced, but like in that next kind of wave of what became like more popular R&B and stuff.
Yeah.
But I like it. I like great chorus again. Really catchy, and I really like the bridge. Is what kind of like I was like, okay, I'm vibing with this. When I kind of got into it. What do you think?
I think, like I said, how I like listening to her songs like in order, because it feels like she's evolving as the project goes on. To me, this song kind of feels like after a therapy session where you've bawled your eyes out and you just instantly feel so like, that was nice, that was good, here I am now. Like that's what Alive feels like to me. Like she just gave us so much emotional labor, and now she's like, okay, now I feel really good
Yeah,
about everything.
that's a great way to describe it. It's almost like an exhale
Yeah.
after kind of breathing in all of these issues and stuff, and it's just like, okay, but I'm alive.
Yeah, it's just very, I feel like it's hard to um it's like when you can finally look back on a relationship and the heartbreak's still there, but it's like the stages of grieving. So like now there's acceptance, and now there's like you can look back and be like, that sucked that it ended, but I'm glad that we at least had it, and I'm glad that I've learned from it, and now I'm ready to move forward. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we get to like the tough questions.
Oh
Okay,
God.
so we've broken down the track list. What
Okay.
would you say are your top 3 favorite tracks
Okay. Fuck. Okay.
right
Let me think about
now?
right now in this moment. I am going to say, oh God. Hey, this is hard.
I know.
Okay, hold on. I got you. I'm like humming them in my head.
I'll go first, okay?
Yeah, you go first. You go first.
In no particular order, I would say I really like The Way. I am it's funny, I listened to it so much and it got so much radio play when it came out that I'm still kind of burnt out from it, but it is a great
Yeah.
song. So I would say The Way. You Should Be Here, of course. Also, again, another single, kind of an obvious pick, but it's just a great song. I love that that yeah. And then I'm gonna say Be Alright. It's a really great sounding song, but also just like I'm adding that to my feel good music playlist because it
Okay.
really does give me that feeling of like, shit's gonna be okay, and I really appreciate that.
I feel that. I think I figured it out. Be all right. Currently, like I said, is my fave.
Okay.
Jealous
Okay.
and Down for You right now are my favorites.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good list. I like that. I
But if
approve.
you ask me next week, it could easily
Of
change.
course, of course.
Yeah.
And now for an even more difficult question. There's one track on the album that you had to get rid of. Which would it be? And you cannot say the intro.
I'm gonna say Bright.
What?
Yeah, I'm gonna say
You're
Bright.
just
Right.
you're, you're just kind of over it right now.
It's the lyrics, just like I love her vocals. I love, like, if I couldn't speak English, right, and I was just listening to it, I would enjoy it. But the lyrics just don't resonate with me the same way that everything else does. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Um, I don't know. I might say maybe Unconditional.
Oh yeah.
I think it's nice and it's a nice song and a nice message and stuff, but it's kind of, I don't know. I think she takes a nice approach to it, but that subject matter has been treaded so many times, and the song itself, it just doesn't like speak to me that much. And sequencing wise, I think going from the way straight into the letter would hit more without Unconditional in the middle. But
Mhm.
that's just me. So for our listeners, if someone's listening to this record, they're like, "Oh, I really like this. I never heard it before." Do you have like another recommendation or two of something that you would try to steer them towards for the next thing to listen to?
If they liked Kehlani, I would recommend them. Oh, okay. Uh, I would recommend them start out with Heebie Jeebies by Amine, and Kehlani is featured on it. And then just get into um, Amine's 1.5 because it's similar content just from like a rap point of view and a male point of view, but I think he still has the level of honesty that Kehlani does,
Absolutely.
especially on 1.5. So yeah, that's my recommendation. Or if you want just like the R&B makes you feel something, I'm gonna try not to text my ex. Giveon. That Giveon.
Specific
Giveon
projects?
feel. No, he's an artist, but if you want to look, I think the song he's pushing right now is "Heartbreak Anniversary," which really, listen, I've almost made some dumb mistakes listening to that
Oh
song.
no.
Was it that good? I don't know. But yeah, so I'm gonna say check out those two songs and then check out those artists because I think they also have a level of honesty. If you like Kehlani's honesty, that you'll vibe with.
Yeah, I think that's a great recommendation. I'm just gonna keep it easy. I'm just gonna say, if you are enjoying this R&B, great vocals, check out Snow Allegra.
Mm,
I love me some Snow. I think also she does her lyrics. She does do a little bit more of the abstract kind of lyrical miracle stuff in some regards, but also a lot of her songs are also very kind of straightforward. R&B's pop songs. But Feels is the one recently that I really just like from front to back. I just bore the shit out of that
yeah.
record. So that's the one that I really, really recommend that people like if you're into, female R&B, especially that sappy kind of love feeling stuff. Like, right in that.
She is. I like her. I vibe with
Um,
that.
but yeah, with that, I think we've kind of covered everything with the album. Is there anything that you wanted to like mention or talk about your personal experiences, something that we didn't quite get to?
No, just if you listen to this, don't text your ex.
That's right. Stay strong, okay?
This is the parental advisory right now. Stay strong. Don't do it.
It
It's
is
not worth it.
yeah, I would listen to this record in the morning, try to avoid it
Yeah,
at night when you're
not at
intoxicated,
nighttime. No alcohol.
clear-minded.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Drew, it is awesome. I'm so glad that you came and did this with me. We have to do another one so you can come and talk about Amine because I know you're
Oh,
dying to.
love of my life. But yes, absolutely. This was fun. Thank you for having me.
Do you have anything coming up that you can promote? Anything you want to shout out real quick?
I'm not allowed to promote any of the stuff that we're working on, but actually I will promote this. My I'm working on a podcast right now. I'm hoping to get it out by next month. So if you enjoy dating, bullshitting, and just the pursuit of happiness, my friends and I are, hopping on a podcast to talk of our stories and our journeys. So check out my Instagram for updates on that,
That sounds
which is
cool.
okay today.
I'll have to check. I'll have to check that out.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, thank you so much for being on. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. So this was Kehlani. You should be here. If you haven't heard it, I don't know why you watched this episode. It probably didn't make a lot of sense. But if you haven't heard it, you should listen to it. Next week, I do have a new guest coming on. We haven't quite decided what album it's going to be, so the teaser will be on the social media. You'll be able to find out there. so you can listen to ahead of time. And hopefully, knock on wood, I feel better. We actually do it on Tuesday as planned. So we'll see about that. But yeah, thank you very much, Drew. Thank you, everyone in the audience. I need to cue my music here for my outro. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Yeah, this was awesome. I'm repeating myself. Yes. Have a great night. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.